Hey everybody, it's Margo here at My Favorite Quilt Store, and I wanted to give you a rundown on the Seed Packets quilt. This is a free pattern from Free Spirit Fabrics of Kaffe Fabrics, and we are just in love with this quilt kit. I saw it at market, and oh my gosh, it is spectacular. So we have put together a quilt kit for you guys to be able to make it, or you can select your own fabric. So I'm going to talk a little bit first about fabric selection. So in case you're wanting to pull it from your stash, you can figure out how to do that. So we love these Kaffe florals, and they come in many different sizes. So the first thing I did was break it down into large, medium, and small prints for Kaffe. And I say that with air quotes because his flowers are always pretty big. So in this one, we're doing the red and yellow kind of multicolored one. So we were able to pull a lot of different shades together in this particular quilt kit, and in this thing. It does tell you how many fabrics, where the fabrics go and what you need. Their suggestion is somewhere between 15 and 20 fabrics that are anywhere from a half a yard, which is the smallest cut, up to 5/8 of a yard or a full yard, depending upon what you need. So anyway, let's get started and take a look at these fabrics and see what fabrics that are inside this quilt kit. So the first one I'm going to show you is this red fabric. So this one has quite a bit because it is also the binding. You should cut your binding from this before you Swiss cheese it and fussy cut it for your blocks. So we've given you enough to be able to cut your binding out of here and leave you space so that you can cut those big flowers out for the beautiful flowers you're going to need for some of the big blocks. So this is the first one. So we have this in red with black. We have the same flower, but it's in pink with a red background, and then also a beautiful yellow with a green background, but it's got some red in it, so that's what really ties this together with it. We did the crimson poppies in this one, and then Brassica pastel in this one, and this is to give you some of the lightness that you need throughout the quilt to help you have some highs and lows within the quilt to create interest. And then of course the Japanese chrysanthemum, which is a very large flower and very, very beautiful and colorful. So those are what I consider the large prints. They're larger scale. The biggest one you're going to cut is an 8-inch square, and so they need to fit inside. I mean, they can be more. Some of these are more than 8 inches, but you wouldn't want to cut. You want to make sure they're roughly around bigger than 8.5 inches or 8 inches. So the medium sized ones are not quite 8 inches. They're between 5 and 6 inch flowers. So these are going to have a smaller flower in it and have some surrounding flowers. So each of these you're going to need to cut. Overall, you need 64 large 8-inch squares. So you're going to have to cut either 4 or 5 out of a lot of these fabrics, depending upon when you look at them and count them out, what if they're small, medium, or large. Here again, look at this beautiful succulent that we have along with some dahlias. Here it is again in a different colorway, but gives you that nice red and purple with hints of green through it, which will look really, really nice. We've got another one that's floral with succulents. This one has yellows and blues because of course this flower, this Seed Packets quilt is very colorful and has lots of different colors throughout it. And then this is called cactus flower, and it's a smaller flower for Kaffe, but you cut these out more individually to put inside the quilt. It's pinks and reds, and then we have it in oranges and pinks and reds with a blue background on this one. So the background color is going to show a little bit, but that gives you a little more interest. And then the small flowers, as you can see, are closer to 4-inch flowers that you need. So something kind of relatively small. And these are pansies. Then this is a flower where it's kind of like just random flowers floating on a dot background. And then of course, these beautiful pink flowers floating on this purple background. And then this one has a variety of different fabrics, different flowers within it for you to fussy cut either 4 or 8 inches. I feel like this is really more 4-inch flowers. So this gives you an overview of the fabrics. I did pull the bolts out so that we could take a look at those and see what they look like. Again, this is a smaller print that we're looking for this. It can be anything that's that you can find that this is, I use a ruler, a 4.5 inch ruler that I'm going to use, only cut a 4 1/4 inch block out of, but I can at least put that on the fabric to see where the flowers are that I'm going to be able to cut and what the block is going to look like. So this one's a small print. Here's the purple small print. On here, you're going to get a little, a lot of the other flowers around it. So you can decide whether you want to cut it with 2 flowers and kind of make them offset. Do you want to cut 1 flower in the very center with some little extra colors around the outside? So as you're going through this, you'll have to decide how you want to cut it, but you can easily cut it with 2 flowers at the corners and go down, or you can cut it with 1 flower in the center. So again, that is considered the small flower. This is the larger flower cut here. You can see we put with this, it's a little bit larger than a 3. There's somewhere between 3 and 4 inch flowers on here. So you'd open this up and cut those out. The medium prints are this. And some of these could be more large scale for you too. This one, which is so beautiful, has so many different colors, and this one's with lights and darks. It'll make it really fun to work with. Here's another colorway in that for reds and purples. And then we have the cactus flower that I wanted to show you that has a pretty large flower with this light blue background, which will add some highs and lows. And then we've got this gorgeous fabric that has these large flowers on it. So these flowers are even bigger than the 8 inch squares. So when you go to cut them, you'll have to pick out a portion of them. So when you go to cut the 8.5 inch squares, sometimes you're going to, or 8 inch squares, sometimes you're going to want to offset the flowers so they're not all directly in the middle, because it'll add more interest if some are slightly offset than everything being all in the middle. So when you look at your flower, see if you want to offset some of them so that they look more realistic and maybe facing a different way. Again, this peony is a huge flower, so you're going to have to come in here and see how much of it you can get and where you want the flower to actually be. It might look better to have it kind of off-centered, or you might want to put it right in the center. So it's just your preference as to how you want to do it. So I hope this has helped you figure out what size prints that you need for this quilt. We have a kit for it if you'd like to buy the kit, or else you can buy your individual yardage of what you like. So we hope this has helped, and happy sewing.